Good morning, everyone. This is Stephanie Bowles, and I work here in the Office of Training and Exercises at the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, and we are pleased to welcome all of you this morning to the webinar, an overview of the enhanced data display by the National Weather Service. Before we get started, you will notice we are presenting in a different format than we have in the past. We have changed over to the Share My Desktop view. The desktop you are seeing is the presenters. In order to see both the list of participants and the chat box on your screen, you will need to click on the drop-down menu, which is located in the middle of your screen at the top. Click on the participants and chat buttons and place anywhere on your screen. Due to the number of callers, we will be muting all participant lines during the session. So if you have questions during the presentation, please do ask them. We just ask that you do so via the chat feature. Simply type them in and they will be answered in the same format. If you would rather ask your questions or make comments verbally, we ask that you hold those until Phil takes a break for questions or until the end. I will ask you to raise your hand using the Raise Your Hand button located directly below the list of participants. I will then recognize you individually and ask that individual only to unmute their line using *6. At the end, there will be an opportunity to provide feedback to include suggestions for topics, and we would very much appreciate your feedback. This session will be recorded, and a link will be provided to all registered participants to view the recorded session. Now to introduce you to our presenter today. Our presenter today is Phil Hysell. Phil has been with the National Weather Service for nearly 25 years. Phil is a graduate of UNC Asheville and has held a variety of forecast and management positions with the National Weather Service in Missouri, Kansas, Ohio, Kentucky, and Virginia. As the Warning Coordination Meteorologist, Phil serves as the principal interface between the National Weather Service Blacksburg office and the users of our products and services. Phil also is responsible for planning, coordinating, and carrying out the National Weather Service Blacksburg area-wide public awareness program. In addition to his duties as Warning Coordination Meteorologist, Phil was selected to be on a team of meteorologists providing decision support services and forecasts for the Deepwater Horizon incident in 2010 and the Democratic National Convention in 2012. Take it away, Phil.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Stephanie, for inviting me to be here today and to talk about this robust situational awareness tool that we call the Enhanced Data Display, or EDD. EDD was developed by meteorologists at the National Weather Service in Charleston with emergency managers and key decision makers in mind to give them one-stop shopping for all the weather products, or a majority of the weather products that the National Weather Service provides. So you will have one site to be able to keep track of observational data, including radar and satellite information, as well as forecast data. So what I hope to do today is to provide a broad overview of some of the products available to this site. To access this site, you can simply go directly to the website, which is http://preview.weather.gov/EDD, or you can go to our website at the National Weather Service in Blacksburg, and at the bottom you'll see about 10 or 12 icons, and you'll see a weather information display icon, and you can click on that to access this display. When you open the display, you will see this, a large map with various layers on the left-hand. So let's go through some of these layers. First of all, this map, you can zoom into the level that you like using either the plus or minus features on the left-hand side, or you can use your mouse to zoom in and out, or if there's a specific area in which you're interested, you can hold down the Shift key and then draw a box to zoom into that level of interest. Now, as you can see on the left-hand side, there are numerous layers you can apply. And the default interface when you first log in is the Advanced, which gives you everything possible. If you find that this is a little overwhelming, and I personally find it a little overwhelming the first time I got in here, you can select several different interfaces, including those specific to aviation forecasting, basic information. There's even an emergency manager interface that I'll click on here that takes out some of the higher end data and focuses more on information that most of you would use on a routine basis. If you're interested in hazmat information, specifically wind data, there's an option for that, the hydrologic layer and the marine layer. So I'm going to go back to the advanced layer to show you a majority of the layers available. Now, anytime you use any one of these layers, and I'll just first click on the radar layer here to overlay radar data on the map that we have displayed. If you would like to see a legend of what the colors mean, at the top menu there is a legend display. Simply click on that and it will provide a legend for for the information displayed. And you'll be able to access that from that menu. So we have the radar data overlaid on the background map, and you can change the opacity of the radar data using the slider bar to make it lighter or make it stand out more over the background maps. You can also select this layer link on the radar to decide if you want base reflectivity or composite reflectivity, and the difference between the two is simple. The base reflectivity is simply looking at radar data in the lowest level closest to the ground, whereas the composite reflectivity is looking at the radar data through the whole column that is being sampled from above the surface to near the ground, and it will plot the highest value found. So during convective weather, you might want to put the composite reflectivity on, and if you see a especially high value, then you know that the precipitation is heavier aloft, and that may be a case where you may have hail that may be approaching the ground. This next tab on the radar layer is the tab that allows you to look at individual radar sites. So if we click on that, you immediately get this additional drop-down menu that appears, and you notice everywhere where there is a National Weather Service radar site, you get a circle where there are numbers, and that number tells you how old the data is. So in this case, the data coming out of the Blacksburg office is 2 minutes old. Likewise in Charleston and down in Morristown, it's 8 minutes old. And as I said, this defaults to the base reflectivity where precipitation is falling, but this field drop-down menu allows you to look at some of the old data, such as the digital hydrometeor classification. We'll click on that, and that's similar to displays you will see on broadcast meteorologist radar with regard to what type of precipitation is falling. You can see it's building this layer. Some of this data is quite large and takes time. If you have a slow internet connection, it will take some time to plot this data, and you can see it's slowly populating with time. So you can see some of the blues and reds indicating snow out in eastern Kentucky. And I will go back to the base reflectivity data so we don't spend a lot of time loading up this data. So that is how you can get specific radar sites. If you just want, that default shows all the radars combined, but if you just want to look at one radar site, you can click on this tab here to see the individual radar sites. And I will unselect that. A neat feature, if you want to go back and look at past weather data, is this last tab on the right-hand side of the radar layer, and that is the archived radar data. And this goes back roughly 2 years, but they are building the database, and I have found data that goes further back than 2 years. So, you know, we can look at the June 29th, 2012 weather radar information. We'll go back to 2012, and then we'll tab to June, and I think we all know what happened on June 29th, and we will change to 7 o'clock local time. And you can see, let's move it up to 9 o'clock. I don't want to bring back bad memories for everyone, but I think we all remember what happened on June 29th of 2012. And you see the infamous derecho that came through. And you can use this radar control tab on the left-hand side to loop this data. Again, it takes some time to build, but that will loop the data over several hours. So you can look at archived radar data. And if you want to look at storm reports that are correlated with that radar data, at the bottom, you'll see a link that says Map Storm Reports. When you select on that, it defaults to the latest reports in the last 3 hours. Let's uncheck the real time, and that opens up this archived report menu where we can pick a time. So again, we'll go to June 29th, 2012, and we'll take that through June 29th of 2012 later in the evening. And we'll change that to 10:30 p.m. We'll change the beginning to about noon. And then if we hit apply, and this will take some time, it will plot, it should plot all the reports of wind damage we received on this date. And sure enough, it worked. Oh, I see why. I need to go back in time here. And it will gradually plot reports on top of the radar data. And you can filter those reports by snow or by wind. and there was a snow report recently, so let's take it out of the real-time mode. And it will plot all those reports, and you can filter those reports by type, by values, and you can change the icons and size. So if you want to, again, review a weather event, this is a powerful tool to do that. So let's get out of the map storm reports. And I think that about covers everything on the radar display. A couple of other radar links I want to share with you is if you're interested in the dual pole data on a broader scale than just the individual radar sites by selecting this icon, you can go down to the More Layers tab at the bottom of this screen, and there are literally 320 layers. And I promise you I will not go through each and every one of those today, but take some time and look at these. And one of the layers I want to share with you is the radar layer. Again, you can look at the digital vertical liquid to see what the VIL was on that day, or you can look at the precipitation type. So let me get this out of the archive mode and back into the real-time mode. Just uncheck that. There we go. And anytime that you want to clear out all of the overlays you have, simply click on this Clear All button, and that will take away everything you. Okay, anyway, going back to this, some of the dual pole data is found underneath the radar data under More Layers. So we have the radar data showing where precipitation is falling, but if you want to see what type of precipitation is falling, again, you can click on this dual pole hybrid hydrometeor classification tab and button down here, and then it will overlay the precipitation type on top of the radar data to give you an idea of the type of precipitation that's falling. And a wealth of radar data is found through the University of Wisconsin website. You can get that by selecting the University and Research tab, and then if you select the University of Wisconsin loopable link, you can look at precipitation estimates and a wealth and plethora of satellite overlays, which I will not bore you with this morning. So that's an overview of how you can look at radar data, and you see that the precipitation algorithm has now populated over this, and you see the pinks and blues indicating that there is light snow falling underneath these weak radar echoes we are seeing. So a powerful tool to keep track of radar information. So let's clear all our layers, and let's go down to the next tab, which is the satellite tab. And I'm going to broaden our view on the map by using the left-hand plus or minus feature on the left-hand side. Simply select the plus tab, and you will get satellite data that will populate over the map that you see here. And you can change the opacity of the satellite data to make it brighter or lighter from this slider bar immediately to the right of it. And then this layer tab will allow you to look at visible data, infrared data. During the day, you will probably want to look at the visible data. At night, the infrared data will provide satellite data information. And you can also click this tab to be able to see the radar precipitation type that I showed you earlier overlaid with the satellite data. And if we click this play button, it will loop, and you can see that with, and I apologize, our internet connection has been very shaky over the past couple of days, and you can see it's taking time to populate this map. I imagine it will be faster on your internet connection, but we can loop the satellite data, zoom in, and see where cloud features are moving. So that's a brief overview on the satellite, and again, you can combine the satellite and radar. Now let's say you have an EOC open and you want to see what hazards are issued by the National Weather Service and take a quick look at that. Just click on the Hazards tab, the plus sign right here, and you'll see a table showing all the watches, warnings, and advisories in place. We'll move this out of the way and show you graphically that we have one advisory in this area that we have zoomed that's highlighted, and it's a winter weather advisory from the National Weather Service in Greer. You also see some blue advisories over here, and we see we have small craft advisories along the coast of Virginia, and you can see when that is in effect and in what time it is expected to expire and what office issued that. If you do a left-hand link, you will see the text version, again, a left-hand click, I should say, over that hazard. You will see the text of that advisory with specific information and pared down, and the impact graphic only for tornado, severe thunderstorm, and flash flood warnings. And again, that's all done just by overlaying your mouse over where those advisories are in effect. And this also takes into account some census data showing what population area encompasses this advisory, how many miles of interstates in the area that's impacted under that advisory. And again, you can use the slider bar to change the opacity to make it lighter or darker over the map. There's a tropical tab over here on the left-hand side. Again, with no tropical advisories or warnings in effect, this will not highlight anything, but this is directly from the National Hurricane Center, and it will show those probability cones that you can overlay on the map. So during the tropical season, take some time to look at that tab. Another powerful tab is the Rivers tab, and to turn on that, again, simply click on the plus sign, and it defaults to those river sites that are expected to go into flood. So we can change that to the WFO layers using this control page up here. Let's go down to forecast information, and it will populate the forecast information for the river data. And let's go back to the observed. When I had this on earlier, it showed it for the entire country, and it just so happened, oh, here we go, it's starting to come in here in the last few moments, I believe. Let me go to the observed. So again, bear with me on this very slow internet connection. You can see these sites slowly populating. And if we zoom in on one of these sites, let's just go down to Northeast North Carolina. We have one of these sites. The inner circle shows you the observed river data, and if you click on the outer circle, you'll see the forecast river data. And you can click on that tab to get specific hydrographs on where the river's at and where it is forecast to go. You can also look at some of the ensembles, which I hope many of you in the western part of the state are looking at with the potential for flooding next week, to see what the probability of that site reaching action flood or moderate stage is, and that's off that river control feature. So let's see if we can turn this on again and see if any more of these sites populate. And it looks like it will not. So I apologize again for the very slow internet connection. And if we click on this tab, let's change this to all observations, this second tab, and give it one more try. There we go. So now we have all of the tabs, all of the sites listed here, and we're going to put a blank so we don't have to have the overlay. So now we have all the observation sites plotted, again, and that's from the second tab next to the rivers icon. And so we can select any site. So, we can look at the observed stage at Radford. If we want to go up here and look at some information on the James River in Richmond, again, we can get the hydrograph to see where the river has been, where it is forecast to go. We can look at the ensemble information, and this is a powerful tool for long-range planning with regard to river forecasting and whether or not rivers are expected to exceed flood stage. And as this slowly populates using this model over the next 5 to 7 days, you will see that only locations that have a 30% chance of reaching action stage are going to be plotted on this site. And as this slowly populates again, you should see some of the areas in the James River Basin that are expected to have at least a 30% chance of going over flood stage. So again, a really good situational awareness tool to see what rivers are expected to go in flood, what rivers are in flood, just using that layer. So let me get out of that. And then this final icon on the rivers layer is the River Forecast Center Flash Flood Guidance. And so you can look at how much flooding, how much precipitation it takes to create flooding. And when you click on this raindrop icon, it opens up these 4 icons down below. So let's look at the 6-hour flash flood guidance. And you can see this is a high-resolution data set that tells you how much rain it will take to create flash flooding. And remember from earlier in the presentation, you click on the legend page, and that will give you a legend about what these colors mean. And again, that takes some time to populate. You see right here where we have the, okay, I hope everybody can hear me. I got a message that my line was muted. I don't know if that was intentional or not. So here's the 6-hour flash flood guidance. You see in the New River Valley, it takes about 1 to 1.5 inches of rain in 6 hours to create flooding. Same in the Richmond area, but when you go down to Virginia Beach in that area, it would take more rain, over 2 inches over a 6-hour time frame to create flash flooding. Those icons, again, are found on this raindrop icon under the rivers layer. So let's clear all of this out and go down to the forecast layer, which I think is the most powerful layer in the enhanced data display. You click on the plus side and you get this forecast control menu that allows you to look at weather data, and I have it defaulting to total new snow, but you can look at the hazards, you can look at fire weather information, what is the forecast relative humidity, what is the forecast wave heights, the forecast precipitation, forecast temperature. So we can click on maximum temperature, and then that shows, and let's take off the point values right now, and we can add those here in a little bit. That shows the forecast maximum temperature, and this slider bar will allow you to select which time you want to see that maximum temperature forecast. So we're looking at the maximum temperature forecast for Sunday, for Monday, and again, if you want to change the density of the point values, if you want to see more than just Richmond and Roanoke, slide this bottom slider bar and you will see the density increase with time. If you want to make the font sizes smaller, click small. And if you want to zoom in to get a closer view of the forecast for a specific area, you can do that by zooming in on the map feature, but you can also go into the layer function below, and there are some dynamic boundaries that you can select, including county boundaries. So if we want to, let's say, add interstates, let's say we want to add some U.S. counties to this. So now we get a better idea exactly where the temperature forecast is in relation to a location. And again, if you think the font is too big, you can diminish the font, increase the font, or the width of the county map backgrounds, or the color, all of that from these drop-down menus. So going back to the forecast data, let's look at some precipitation data. You can look at total precipitation, 6-hour snowfall amounts, or total snow. And let's focus on the total snow. So we'll select total snow, and this is the total snow ending, as you can see on the left-hand side, ending at 7 p.m. on March 1st. Our snowfall forecast goes out 72 hours, so that's why you don't see any in advance of that time. So with the system coming through in the colder air up in the northern Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes, this is where most of the snow is expected to fall. And what's really neat about this is you can go into this, and let's take off those county maps. They are a little bit overwhelming for me. So as we go back to the snowfall maps, you can go in time with the total new snow and see how much the snow increases over time. So here's the forecast for total snow through 7 p.m. Saturday. So if we're in Indianapolis, there's no snow at this time. By the time we get to 1 a.m. Sunday, still no snow. But then as we get into 7 a.m., we should have about an inch. And we keep adding to that through the total new snow through 1 p.m. Sunday. So if you want to see how much total snow is expected in your area or how much snow is expected over a specific area, a specific time interval, you can use that valid time slider bar just below the field from the forecast drop-down menu. In addition to the precipitation elements that you have, you can look at maximum, minimum temperature, hourly temperature. You can look at wind chills and heat indices, the convective outlook, the chance for thunderstorms, the chances for tornadoes. All that information comes from the Storm Prediction Center. Tropical information from the National Hurricane Center that also is found on that tropical layer is also embedded in the forecast layer. If you want to know weather information in terms of when is the rain going to begin, you can use the weather drop-down menu from below. So now of course, am getting an error saying that the page has become unresponsive, but that's okay. We will quickly reload this, and here it comes back. So I think that was a good overview of the forecast information that's available through that drop-down menu. Again, I could spend the entire day going over each one of these layers. I just want to provide a broad overview and just to introduce you to those features, and hopefully you'll take some time to explore these. You can also look at current observations. Again, just select the plus key, and it will default to all the marine and land observations and a pretty low density of observations, and you can see that slowly populating, and it defaults to temperature and wind as well as wave heights that you see off the coast. Here at Virginia Beach, you see the 5-foot wave heights. if you click on it, and by the way, if you want to change the density of these, you use this slider bar. If you think that is too small of an icon, you can change that to medium to make it a little bit larger. And again, it defaults to the temperature and wind data. If you just want to look at temperature data, go down to this icon display drop-down menu and select temperature, and then we'll take that down a little bit. And then you'll see just the temperatures plotted across your area of interest. And again, you can change the density of that and populate more observation sites. But going back to the meteorological observation icon display, let's say here in Richmond you want to look at some past weather data. Just hover over the observation site and you see current conditions. And then if you select the graph, you'll see temperature plotted with time over the past 3 days, I believe. And you will also be able to select if you want to plot the wind gust, visibility, how much precipitation fell over the past several days, and you can use your icon to hover over that to see exactly how much precipitation fell in 1 hour intervals. You can also look at that in a tabular format. You can query the field by temperature, dew point, relative humidity, wind gust, visibility, and let's say you just want to see when winds gusted greater than 10 miles an hour at Richmond, so you would just change this to wind gust and say you want that greater than, and we'll just say 10 miles per hour, and apply that, and then you will only see over the past 3 days when the winds were over 10 miles per hour, and you see that occurred on the 26th of February. Aviation information is found here, and just some more station information from that link. But again, if you're looking for past weather data, and I'll also cover this more in depth in a climate overlay that I'll share with you in a few moments, but just to get some quick information on past weather data, just click on any of these icons and you can see that past weather information. So that's a brief overview on the observations. If you're interested in upper air data, there are two upper air observations in Virginia. Of course, the Sterling office and our office here in Blacksburg. So if we click on the Sterling circle, you will see their morning balloon launch indicating the temperature and dew point with height. So if you are capable of interpreting those and want to look at low-level wind fields and stability parameters, you can look at those. And it also appears that you can look at past upper air data using this calendar here to select a specific date. Now, to get an idea about forecast confidence, there's another powerful tool here under the model spread. So you can select this plus button, and it will select many sites across the country. Now, some of these are not currently working with a new upgrade in software that we are using in Blacksburg. So I'm going to select an area in Wakefield's area. Again, I'll pick on Richmond. So you can click on Richmond, and you will see it defaults to the temperature forecast with time, and the dots indicate the Weather Service forecast, and the box and whiskers indicates the model spread. So where you have a greater depth in the box and whiskers, you know the confidence is lower. So let's look at like probability of detection. I think this is a good one to show because there's still a lot of uncertainty with this event coming on Wednesday, as you can see here. So you can see for Richmond, let's look at the amount of precipitation. So we'll look at QPF. So you see for Richmond, some models are indicating 1/10 of an inch, some are indicating none, and then there's many in between. So you can get an idea of the confidence by looking at this box and whisker spread for these sites. And you can look at this for maximum, minimum temperature, dew points, wind speed, to get an idea, again, of that confidence and the range of possibilities. Maybe you need to prepare for temperatures of a specific value, and you want to know what the probability is of those temperatures exceeding 90 or 95 degrees. This is a nice way to do that. So let's get out of this and look at this second icon next to the model spread layer, and that's the SREF plumes. This is using one model, the SREF, and taking it over several runs, and this does work for the entire state. So let's go down and look at some SREF data for Norfolk. So we look at that location, and you can see it defaults to precipitation forecast through Sunday. And the dark line indicates the mean precipitation expected, the most likely, and you see the darker green shades are the 25 to 75 percentile, and then the lighter greens are the 10th and 90 percentiles of probability. So again, if you hover over this, you will see that the 50th percentile, or the most likely accumulated precipitation through Sunday at midnight, is 1.32 inches at Norfolk. And you can also show, National Weather Service forecast data overlaid on this by selecting these options on the left-hand side, and the Weather Service data will populate with the circles. So this gives you a really good idea, again, of the probabilities, and you can use this for rain, you can use it for snow. I think this is where it may be most valuable, is if you're trying to plan, okay, I know there's a range of possibilities for snow, what's the worst case scenario? Just select the snow option, and you'll be able to see those range of possibilities and say, okay, maybe I need to prepare for the worst case scenario, which would be shown in the lighter shading. And I think we can look at that for an area. We'll go outside of Virginia, but we'll look at Lewisburg, West Virginia, I think, where they are expecting some snow, to show you this example. And here's a great example where you can see that for this afternoon, the most likely are expecting, for yesterday, they were expecting 2 inches of snow, but there were some models indicating as much as 2.8 inches, and the 10th percentile was a half an inch, or an 8/10 of an inch. So you can get the worst case and best case scenarios quickly from that SREF plume from that model spread layer. Okay, so that's the model spread layer. Looking at webcams, again, you get this notice that this is using a third party for this feature, but webcams are not taken from, obviously, Weather Service sites, we don't have webcams, but they're taken from a website called traffic.com, I believe, and you can zoom in, and if you want to see if there's a snow accumulating on the ground where there's any of the webcams, you can simply click on the cam, and it will open up that external page, and you'll be able to see a view of that. So you can imagine having the webcams overlaid on radar data to be able to have good situational awareness on what's happening weather-wise. The outlooks layer provides outlooks directly from the Storm Prediction Center, those 1 through 8 day convective outlooks, and I don't think there's much going on convectively across the country. You do have just a marginal risk of thunderstorms across the west in this area. And again, if you're not sure what the colors mean, select the legend icon, and you see general thunder there for the areas in green. You can also look at the QPF, how much rain is expected to fall from the Weather Prediction Center, and let's show you the days 6 through 7, which is concerning for our area. You can see that we have, again, the swath of blue, and if we open the legend display, you see that showing over an inch of rain falling in days 6 through 7 across much of our state. And you can also look at climate information. Again, I'm going to clear all of the overlays I have now. You can also look at climate outlooks. So let's see what the temperature outlook is for days 8 through 14 over the next week. And surprise, it's still showing the eastern United States colder than average over the next 2 weeks, with warmer than average conditions expected across the western United States. And then this comes from the Climate Prediction Center. So we will clear that. And there's also fire weather outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center. So that covers most of the quick layers found on the left-hand side. There, like I said, are a wealth of layers underneath this more layer option that I'll get to shortly. If you are registered for NWS Chat, you can click on the NWS Chat icon found below, and if you have that account, and this is open to emergency managers and to broadcast media, where you can chat directly with the National Weather Service office. It will take you to that NWS Chat page where you can log in and open up your chat box and chat with your local National Weather Service office. Also, let's say that you've found a map you really like. Let's say you want to overlay radar data. So let's click on the radar data display. You've zoomed in to a level of your liking, and let's say we want to overlay some observations on top of this. And you say, you know, I'd like to be able to go to this zoomed in layer and have these layers on the map every time I log in, or I'd like to share this on my social media page or share this with one of my colleagues. You can click this Save and Share icon on the bottom of the page, and it creates this monstrous, this huge URL, but it also will eventually create a tiny URL and even a gousa.gov URL that you can place in a Twitter message or in an email, and then you can go directly to that link, or you can even make a QR code and post it in a PowerPoint presentation or any pamphlets that you have, and anybody can, with a QR reader, can read that, and they'll immediately go to this zoomed-in layer with the information that you have plotted. So again, that is the Save and Share feature. All right, and under the More layers, again, I just want to quickly go over some of these that I've touched on earlier. And one I want to take some time to talk about is the climate layer. You click on the climate reports, and I know sometimes I get requests from emergency managers saying, hey, how much snow do we have on a specific day, or how much rain did we have, what was the temperature, can you go back and look at this information for me? Well, all this data is available to you through this EDD site. By clicking on the climate reports, you can select any day. So if you want to look at what the high temperature was last October, on October 15th of 2014, you can say, okay, what was the high temperature? And immediately you see at all the climate sites, 73 up at Sterling, 77 Richmond, 68 here in Blacksburg, or you can look at how much precipitation fell, as well as how much total precipitation fell to that point, how much snow fell, and what record the year took place by clicking on that color map drop-down icon. So again, a powerful tool to be able to quickly look at climate information. If you want to get more information on this specific date on October 15th, just have your mouse hover over the site, and you can see that we had 0.73 of an inch of precipitation on that day, and the high was 68, and the low was 50, and you can see the normals and when those records were established. Again, all that climate information available from the climate layer under the More Layers option. So I will clear out of that. You can also find fire weather data, the hazard data, the hazmat data. If you decide to contact your weather service office and have them run a high split plot of a plume where maybe a chemical spill is expected to go, once you run that, you can click this high split model run and have the number of your model run, and it will overlay on the map so you can see that graphically. This model data, including the SREF and HRRR, is the same that I showed you from up above with the model spread data. Observations, you can see more observations. There are more options than there are from the top menu, including how much precipitation has fallen based on radar data, or if you're interested in drought information and want to know how much precipitation has fallen over the past 7, 14, 30, or 90 days, just click on this. So if we want to see what was the precipitation over the past 180 days, we just select that layer, and it populates with that information for the area that you have highlighted. But again, this is another high-intensive overlay that will take some time to populate, so we'll deselect that. You can even look at the precipitation compared to normal for a specific time, as well as forecast precipitation over the next several days. And again, winter weather information, I wanted to touch on this. I have had requests about, okay, how much snow has fallen over the past couple of days. If you need that information for the past 3 days, you can just click on the 72-hour snow total contours, and you'll see from our reports where the heavy snow fell, and you can see the snowfall. Again, if you want to get the values, just select this layer menu, and you can see areas in purple where 10 to 12 inches fell across parts of southeast Virginia. So you can get that snowfall data from simply selecting the winter drop-down menu. So I think that covers most of the information on the left-hand side. I'm now going to turn our attention to these icons on the right-hand side of the menu. If you want to explore this in more depth, you can select the Help icon, and that provides a wealth of information, and it's a little overwhelming. There's a frequently asked question link where many of the questions you have may be answered here. There's also a user's guide that I believe is 60 pages, and that gives you an idea of just how robust this site is, and you can download this at your leisure. if you have any feedback, the meteorologist who created this site is very responsive to any feedback that you have. Just select this feedback form, and it will open up a form where you can ask for maybe something to be added. If you have a question about why certain data is not being used or is being used, just select that feedback icon, and Jonathan will get back with you very quickly. The display tool menu has a lot of information here that may be of use to you, including a mobile version. If you go to preview.weather.gov/EDD on your mobile phone, you will get this display, which is like EDD Lite. It only has a few of the layers that I've showed you today. And as you move across this, you'll see that you have a plus button embedded in a circle. Make sure that you have that over your area of interest. So again, if you're interested in Richmond, make sure that you have that icon right over Richmond, and you see that the layers are limited to radar, hazards, observations, river, and tropical data, as well as forecast data, and that is the mobile site for EDD. So you can bookmark that on your phone and access it from the same site at preview.weather.gov. Also from the Tools menu, you have a Layer Manager. So if you have several layers overlaid, and like we'll add our observational data, and let's say we'll add our upper air data, each one you add immediately goes on top. But let's say you want the observational data to overlay on top of the upper air data, you just select the observational data, move to top, and that will appear over the upper air data. So that is the Layer Manager. If you, for whatever reason, want the NOAA logo, you can select that to have that toggled on there. This WMS service, again, I am not a computer literate person, so this is a little bit beyond my understanding. But if you have layers that you would like to have added to EDD, you can import those, and there are some examples. For example, there are wind turbine locations that have been plotted. Oh, let's go back. I went to the mobile side. There are wind turbine locations that you can have added that have already been included in this. So again, if you go to the WMS service, and you can use examples, and we will go to wind turbines, and it will immediately populate with the wind turbine layer. And you can see where all the wind turbines are. And you can save that if you want to save that so the next time you load it, those wind turbines will appear, but I will not do that. Okay, so also underneath the WMS service is you can add KML. So if you have a KML file you would like to place on the map, you can do that. Range Ring is an interesting tool that I could see helpful with decision support for a specific event. For example, let's say we're in Roanoke, and we want to know when precipitation's arriving within a 10-mile radius. So we can change this slider bar to 10 miles, or we can manually type in 10 for miles, and then select this Place Ring on Map, and we'll select right over Roanoke, and then we'll produce a 10-mile ring. And if we overlay the radar by selecting that radar tab, we know when precipitation will move in that 10-mile radius. And you can also add additional rings by adding the combine, or clicking on the combine feature, and then let's say we want another ring 25 miles beyond that, and that will add it just like that. So that is the Range Ring feature. This time of arrival feature is pretty neat as well. If you want to know when precipitation is expected to arrive at a specific location, select the time of arrival. So let's find some precipitation. Here's a little bit of light snow, and just follow the instructions. Here it says click where the storm is. We have snow here. Where was the precipitation first on the radar screen? So go over here to the radar layer, scroll back in the loop to find where the snow first fell. And again, it takes some time to populate on our slow internet. So I'll just say that, here we go, the first radar loop, it was right here. So now we say, well, when is it going to arrive in Blacksburg? Click on Blacksburg, and you immediately see, okay, the snow is moving southeast at 12 miles an hour. It will arrive in about 2 hours. So you immediately will get a time of arrival using that function. You can also measure using this drawing tool. So if you want to know how far it is from Blacksburg to Roanoke, you see it's 25.094 miles. and you can quickly get that information from the measure tool. You can also draw some circles, and this zoom tool, I find it's better to use the plus and the minus from the left-hand side, but you can zoom to specific parts of the country. So let me get back in and out of this to get out of the measuring tool. And by the way, when you change that to the measuring tool or to the time of arrival tool, that will change this default down here. And if you want to go back to the forecast, just select the public and marine forecast to make sure you're not drawing lines as you're manipulating the map. And finally, I think there are just a couple more things I want to touch on. This Hourglass will allow you to change the refresh rate for the enhanced data display if you want the data updated every minute or every 45 minutes, or for intervals in between. You can change that from the Hourglass menu. And this display shows you current conditions from your location. If you want to change that, you can overlay, or just hover over, I should say, your mouse on that temperature icon and then change the site, clicking on the Change Site on Map Display tab found here. But you can see that you can see what the temperature is and the winds are at the current time. I will leave you, before I open it up for questions, with this really powerful tool that is the Travel Hazard Forecast. And I use this quite a bit. Many of us travel and we want to know what the weather is going to be from one location to another. So selecting on this Travel Hazard Forecast icon, simply select where your starting destination is. So I'm starting from Blacksburg, and let's say I'm driving to the EOC in Richmond, so I will select Richmond as my final arriving point. And you will see that it automatically zooms into your route, and you will get forecast information for your entire route. Now, the icon display is defaulted to temperature, so you will see the temperature for your drive. You can change that to wind speed, precipitation, or snow amount. And if you hover over, if you hover over the segments, it will give you the range of temperatures and dew points and relative humidity and wind for that segment. So here from this segment, from roughly Lexington to Stanton, you can see that the temperature range is 27 to 30, the dew point range is 13 to 15. But if you want to see the worst case scenario, let's say you're driving across Afton Mountain and you say, hey, what is the worst conditions from this route from Stanton to Charlottesville? You select on the point, and you see up top it says worst case values. So you see worst case here, very light snow showers, the coldest temperature, wind chill will be 26, and you see the peak wind. So if you want to see worst case, click on the point. If you want to see the general forecast for that segment, click somewhere in that segment. And if you want to add a waypoint, like let's say you want to go through Lynchburg instead of driving up 81 to 64, you just add a waypoint and say, okay, I want to travel through Lynchburg instead of going up through Charlottesville. And you can change the waypoint and then get the forecast updated. You can also do this for marine information as well. You click on the boat, and if you want to know the forecast for boating, you click on that map, and it will give you, and somehow went back to the mobile display, but you can click on the boat icon, and it will provide you, and you do the same thing. You draw a route from one point to another, and you will get the wave heights, temperatures, and winds for your route. If you want to walk or you want to ride your bike, you can get that information as well. Also, it can show current traffic conditions. So by selecting that, let me get my starting point and ending points again. So we're starting from Blacksburg, going to Richmond. There are the temperatures. And again, this yellow indicates that there are some hazard. Again, in this case, it's very light snow showers. And we can overlay the traffic to give us the traffic information along that route. So that is a neat tool that I find a lot of people, especially during the holidays when they're traveling, will use to check the forecast before they are traveling. Okay, so I know I have rambled for 50 minutes. I intentionally told myself I was going to keep this under an hour, and I wanted to leave some time for questions if anybody's still awake. I know that was a very fast go through with this site. Again, it's a really robust site that provides a wealth of information. I think that if you're interested in the site, the best thing to do is just take time and play with it yourself and look at all of these layers. So Stephanie, I'll kick it back to you and see if there's any questions at this time.